All right, friends. On a nice spring evening like this, a few chills running up and down your spine, just what you need. So, get yourself a sweet companion. Turn the lights down low. Put your arm around her. Oh, brother, sit back and get ready to have the wits scared out of you. Let's go.
If there is one thing I am unhealthily obsessed with, it's the many forms of media and how they are implemented in storytelling. And there's not an odder duck than the radio drama. From pretty much the invention of mainstream radio up until the 1950s, radio dramas played the role of television, offering scheduled content ranging from comedy, romance, thriller, and horror stories, sometimes serialized, sometimes standalone, and with about as much range and quality as any other medium. You have to respect what these people had to work with. Having to express characters and actions through nothing but audio means it ain't easy. Actually, when you think about it, the closest relative to the radio drama isn't books or movies or theater, but traditional oral storytelling, quite possibly the very first form of storytelling invented by man. People would gather around the fire to listen to the old wise man rattle on about gods and heroes in danger, much in the same way that people would gather around the old radio to listen to the mysterious voices from another dimension rattle on about, well, gods and heroes in danger. Radio dramas have built a foundation for television to use, but it probably has greater roots in human history than television ever will. One of the most widely listened to shows back in the day, and my personal favorite among the classic radio shows, is called Inner Sanctum.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup presents Inner Sanctum Mysteries, starring Wendy Berry. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host, Raymond, inviting you through the squeaking door for a grisly little party.
Airing from 1941 to 1952 for a total of 526 episodes, Inner Sanctum was a suspense and horror anthology show in the style of The Twilight Zone, or perhaps even more so, Tales from the Crypt. Much like that show, Inner Sanctum was bookended with an over-the-top cheeseballs chewing up the scenery before introducing the more serious story. The host in question was one Raymond Johnson, or simply your host Raymond, and oh man, he's fun to listen to.
Well, now for our weekly news summary of events from the other world. Slash. The Galloping Ghost defeated the marauding murderers in the opening game of the Ectoplasmic Baseball League last week. An invisible crowd of 20,000 saw the contest.
He stayed on the show till 1945 when he left for the Army and was replaced by Paul McGarrett, who was alright for the role, but really, everybody loves Raymond, and I'm no exception. It's clear Raymond Johnson was having the time of his life in the role, and you often hear genuine giggles from him that thankfully also work for the character he's playing. Raymond would often open the show with some macabre joke about the afterlife or murder or something dark like that. Again, the Crypt Keeper owes a lot to this guy. Now, when I said that this was one of the more popular radio shows at the time, I meant it. And as such, it was also the most lampooned and made fun of. When you're popular enough to be referenced by both Bugs Bunny and the Three Stooges, you know you've made it.
Sounds like Inner Sanctum.
Whoa, what was that? Why, that was the creaky door. Hello, everybody. This is Desmond of the Outer Sanctorum. Strange things will happen in this mysterious castle. Who could get along without a nice bloody murder, Yes, there will be strange happenings.
Really, really, this was the most popular radio show of its time. 7, count them, 7 movies were made from stories broadcast during the show, most of them starring Lon Chaney Jr., and it was later adapted into a syndicated television show in the early 50s. Now, we get to Lipton Tea. What, quite the non sequitur, you say? Not at all. In 1945, Lipton Tea began to sponsor the show, but instead of having normal radio advertisements for Lipton products like any other radio show, Inner Sanctum actually introduced a new character called the Tea Lady, a light-hearted housewife character that completely clashed with the dark tone of the show and often chastised the host for his jokes.
Say, I wonder what happened to that apartment with the burning skull in the fireplace. Oh, that'd make a cozy little place for a vampire. She could invite her friends up and have a few drinks.
Oh, now, Mr. Raymond, I just can't stand the thought of vampires.
Oh, well, tell the truth. I feel the same way, Mary. I always say that I could kill a vampire and it wouldn't bother my conscience at all. After all, I wouldn't be spilling her blood. It'd be somebody else's.
Now, please, there are no such things as vampires. So let's talk about something else. Something sensible.
Heaven forbid.
Well, then you just be quiet, because I'm going to give some sensible advice. I'm going to remind all the folks who drink Lipton tea that it's wise to buy the larger, more economical size packages. Oh, yes, it's thriftier, but that isn't the only reason. I mean, Lipton tea is the perfect drink for so many occasions that unless you keep a good supply on hand, you may be caught short just when you need it.
It's like if the Crypt Keeper suddenly found himself co-hosting with Flo, the progressive insurance girl. It couldn't be more against the grain. And it's fucking awesome. I love the tea lady and her one-track mind. How she doesn't seem to realize she's living in a world of monsters and murderers. The creeping ghouls and tortured souls are just inconvenient. Dang it, just let me drink my tea. The episode I've selected for this video is The Girl on the Gallows, which aired May 1st, 1945, arguably the golden period for Inner Sanctum. It was the tail end of Raymond's run, the tea lady was there, the show was as popular as it'd ever be, and here's a story involving murder, fortune tellers, and the dead suddenly rising back to life. It's got all the classic radio drama tropes spun together in such an entertaining fashion. We have the ice-cold women.
It was a rare incense, burning in a hollow skull that stood on the mantelpiece. I looked closely. The skull was human. I felt someone's eyes on me, staring, watching every move I made.
Good evening. You're Karen Marlowe, aren't you?
How did you know?
I'm Laura Mason.
The organ music.
Oh, it's her, standing in the doorway. It's Laura Mason.
Good evening, Karen.
And the detective who just couldn't give a fuck.
Suppose you've gathered quite a bit of evidence against me.
We've got enough. Did you kill him?
Do you have my drink, Karen?
Yes, here.
Thank you. No, I didn't kill him, Mr. Locke.
We'll let the jury decide that.
Would you care to know who did murder him?
I have a certain curiosity.
I wouldn't give the story away, as the twist ending genuinely surprised me, and I hope it surprises you too. Let's just say if you're a fan of films like Diabolique, this should be right up your alley. Inner Sanctum is a treat, the perfect way to spend a half an hour. If you're interested in it or other radio dramas, there are plenty of places on the internet to find them, but my favorite site is relicradio.com, which is constantly being updated with the best in thriller, horror, science fiction, comedy, and mystery shows. There's never been a better time to get back into radio.
Oh, well, now it's really time to close that there squeaking door until next Tuesday. So, until then, good night. Pleasant dreams. Fortunate.